Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the December 18th meeting of the Board of Selectmen, Sewer Commissioners. Mrs. Winslow is unavailable this evening, so I guess we could begin by entertaining a motion for a clerk pro tem.
I move that Selectman Begley be appointed clerk pro tem for tonight.
If she doesn't mind, you guys are always picking on her.
Already asked.
Oh, okay. Well, these are easy. They're on tape.
I like these.
All right, so I have a motion made and seconded. All in favor? All opposed? Abstain? 400. Congratulations. If we could have a roll call.
Mr. Chair, myself, Ellen Begley, Chairman Stephen Holmes, Selectman Alan Slavin, Selectman Peter Teitelbaum, and Town Administrator Doug Sullivan are present. Mrs. Winslow is not able to attend this evening.
Okay, thank you. Now, if we could just, this past week, since we last met, there was a terrible tragedy, as you've all seen or heard by now, down in Connecticut. And I thought that Mrs. Begley suggested, as others did, that we begin this evening with a moment of silence for the folks down in Newtown and the families of those victims and the whole community, as they're all suffering, especially at this time of year, a week before Christmas. So if we could do that, have a moment of silence for them now. Thank you. Okay. Announcements. Any announcements?
I don't have any announcements in my packet, Mr. Chair. Any other members of the board?
Peter?
I don't have anything. Thank you.
Mr. Slavin?
Cedar on Thursday. It was mentioned last week again. I'll mention it again. Thursday, December 20th, 5 p.m. They'll be doing a presentation of their block grant. But what's even more important is they will be doing a presentation with some maps showing the last, well, not the last, but the next phase for Main Street, which basically goes from Center Street, goes down around, just skirts on Bessie Park as it comes around and goes back into Merchants Way. There's going to be some changes in road access and some other things. So ask people who have an interest in that area to come to the event. Again, we'll be at the auditorium at 5 p.m. Town Hall on Thursday. Christine Roderick is doing a Christmas spectacular December 19th, which is tomorrow from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Onset Foursquare Church, 301 Onset Ave. There will be presents for all children. She has 0 to 7, so we'll say 1 day to 7 years old. And there'll be a present for each one of them. It'll be a family event, and they will be basically have music, singing, and festival decorations. Anyone who wants to drop off a present for tomorrow can do it between 10 and 3. December 22nd at the Fellowship Hall at the Wareham Congregational Church, 11 Gibbs Ave. They are going to be having a Christmas dinner. Everybody is invited. There is no charge for anyone. Get a hold of Steve at the Congregational Church. I have a phone number, 508-295-1630. He'd just like a call so he has an idea of the numbers. The menu, rib roast, ham, garlic mashed potatoes, green beans, gravy, dinner rolls, assorted desserts. That's it.
Anything else?
Nothing else, Mr. Chair.
Just a reminder that December 25th is Christmas. In case anybody. I hope you're not in the same boat I'm in.
Next item on the agenda, Mr. Chair, you better get out there shopping,
Yeah.
is citizens' participation.
Yeah, my elf is still not able to walk well, so it's up to me. Citizens' participation. Yes, ma'am. That's you. Oh, miss. I get in trouble for saying ma'am. It's a habit.
Yeah, no, ma'am.
Hi, Eleanor Martin from the Onset Bay Association. I just have something that I wanted to express regarding the rentals of the kayaks at Onset Beach. And I just typed this up because by this time of the year, my thoughts are not always all together. It just said, I would like to express my thoughts regarding the possibility of kayak rentals in Onset. Near the end of the summer, a committee was formed to research the possibility of having kayak rentals once again in Onset Beach area. Meetings were held to discuss this endeavor. In attendance were Gary Buckminster, William Lockwood, John Fine, Jim Bruce, Richard Whaler, and myself. It was thought that since this is town property, we needed to look into the proper procedure for having the kayak rental on the beach. Also discussed was the possibility of having snack items and beverages sold from the existing beach pavilion. I was contacted by the owner of Nemasket Kayak, and he indicated an interest in being the company who rented the kayaks. After speaking with him, I invited one of his tour guides who has been active in the OBA kayak poker run to join the committee, thinking this would make the opportunity to participate a fair one. Since that time, while waiting word from the harbor master on the proper procedure, the Newmasket proprietor took it upon himself to speak directly to the selectmen, something he had gone out of his way to say he would not do until he had heard from our committee. I am speaking now because I want the town to be aware that the OBA and this committee wants and needs to be involved in the process of the kayak rental at Onset Beach. It is my hope that sometime in early 2013, a meeting be scheduled to discuss this matter with whoever is the proper town official to get this project going in the right direction. OBA and Onset business owners are working diligently to bring Onset back to the prospering community it should be, remembering that it is the beach area that brings people to Wareham. And I just wanted to say that because we have had 3 meetings discussing this same matter, and it's something that we feel strongly needs to be done, and we want to do it in the right way, but we also want it to be something that is an Onset thing. And you know, if the town decides that an outsider is the best for it, then so be it. But we'd also like to have a committee heard that we formed. I mean, we've had quite a few meetings regarding it, and it's something that the only reason he heard about it was because we had these meetings, and I had contacted him.
Well, I'll stop you there, and thank you for your comments. We'll give any business owner who'd like to come and talk to our town 10 minutes to introduce themselves. And to be very clear, and I thought I made it very clear before the gentleman even spoke, that there is nothing before this Board of Selectmen that was on that agenda in terms of proposals, in terms of anything. He did submit something to the office, I believe, and to be honest with you, I never read it. Has nothing to do with us. The proper channels for establishing business in town is to see that man right there, the town administrator, or to go and see Mr. Pina, who is our CETA director. Those are the 2 gentlemen who handle inbound traffic of local businesses into our town, not the Board of Selectmen.
Okay.
We have charters, we have bylaws, and that whole issue is day to day. And if any part of that decision comes before this board, it would be brought here because of those bylaws and the charters of the town of Wareham. So I want to be very clear because some people thought I knew this guy. I never met the man before in my life. I tried to talk to him a couple times. I sent him an email, and I never communicated with him until he sat in that chair.
Okay.
And I made it very clear that this board was not entertaining any proposals. It wasn't on the agenda that way.
Right.
It was just for him to introduce himself. And we'll do that for anybody.
All right. Well, that's what we're trying to do.
But it goes through
the
the town administrator's office, and in some cases the CETA director, but those are 2 great guys to work with. They know all of the regulations, variances, zoning, plan, all that stuff goes through those gentlemen. That's day-to-day activities.
Okay, and it is my understanding that the harbor master has been in touch with the town administrator, and we were waiting to hear when those meetings would be set up.
Yeah.
So that's why I was kind of like taken back when I saw, I actually didn't see it. Everyone called me and told me, oh.
Well, apparently he had thought he was bringing a proposal, but that wasn't going to happen.
All right,
'Cause
so I
this
just
isn't
wanted
the
to go on
forum for
record
that.
to let you know that this is something we're very interested in doing.
Sure.
Okay? Thank you. Oh,
Thank
and
you.
if if anybody hasn't bought their tickets for the New Year's Eve
All
party.
right, I was going to ask you
Yeah,
about that
come
because
on.
I didn't say anything before.
Yes.
But do you still have tickets available?
Oh, yes, we do.
And they're $50 a head.
Yes,
New Year's Eve, and there's dinner
yes, there is.
and dancing.
Yes.
To a great band. What's the name of the band?
Image.
Image. That's been leaving my mind.
Thank
and
you.
Mr. Sullivan may be my dance partner.
Uh-huh.
That's right.
I don't know.
That's what they're saying.
I don't know. His wife sent me an email and said she didn't like that idea. Just teasing. I'm just teasing. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you very much, and Merry Christmas. Mr. Barros?
My name is Gerald Barrows. I mean, I don't know what it has anything to do with me, but my daughter called me up tonight just before I come, and she received a bill from the town for $18,000 for the betterment. It doesn't say you have to pay it cash or how much a month. I wish they would explain it so the people would know that they got it. I imagine they got a year before they start, and if they want to pay the full amount, they can. If they want to pay, say, 10 years, they can, or if they want to pay by the year, they can. But the bill does not say nothing. It just says $18,000 betterment January 1 to 2013.
There was no letter in there, Mr. Barros?
That's all it said. That's all she said.
We'll talk to Mr. Campino in just a moment.
I just want to put that out
Yeah, no.
because
that's
she's
good.
all upset. I said,
Yeah,
I don't think
blame
so.
her. That's good feedback. There should be. Anybody else? Okay. Next up.
Moving right along, we have the consent agenda. Item A is authorization to sign bills and documents, and I do not have any bills, believe it or not. Moving on
Outstanding.
to item B is approval of November 27th, 2012 minutes.
Okay.
All right, not hearing anything, I make a motion that we approve November 27th, 2012, regular Board of Selectmen's minutes as written.
Second.
Motion made and seconded by Mr. Titlebaum. Anything on the question? All in favor? All opposed? Abstained? 400.
Next set of minutes is December 4th, 2012, for the regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen.
Oh, hang on one second. We'll go back to that.
To November 27th?
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 301.
Okay.
I was trapped.
So that's the correction.
I was trapped in Tennessee, right? Yeah, because it says I was absent.
And you voted for them. Well,
No, I just abstained. That's
I
why
gotcha.
we did it again.
I gotcha. But you were back by December 4th.
I
So these are I make a motion to approve the December 4th, 2012 minutes for the regular Board of Selectmen's meeting.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Anything on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 400.
And finally, we have the minutes for December 11th, 2012. So I make a motion that we approve the minutes from the Board of Selectmen's regular meeting from December 11th, 2012, as written.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Anything on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 400.
And next up, Mr. Chair, is interview and/or appointment to the Commission on Disability and Historic District Commission, and I believe we have one applicant for 2 positions, actually. And that would be Denise Valenti.
I actually spoke with Mr. Newman this afternoon, and I regret that the meeting time for the Commission on Disability meets at a time that I'm unable to make. So I
Oh,
have
that's
to
unfortunate.
withdraw my application.
Yes, it's generally around noon time.
Exactly.
I'm sorry to hear
Oh,
that.
that's okay.
But you also have an application in for the Historic Commission, District Commission, is that correct?
Correct.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about it yourself?
You have to speak. You have to speak like
Right
within-
into it, like
within
I
an
am.
inch
Okay.
of that little foam piece.
Thanks.
There you go.
Well, I grew up in Boston, and I was always fascinated at an early age with the turn-of-the-century Queen Anne and Italianate mansions, as well as the mansard roofs and the libraries and the museums and the churches and the colleges. And it's something that's continued throughout my life. I was fortunate enough that even though I grew up there, I summered here as a child. And I've been a permanent resident for over 25 years. I've seen a lot of changes in the town, and I'm a really strong believer in historic preservation and restoration. I think it's, you know, it's really important to the community. It provides a glimpse to our past. It gives a sense of the community, and it makes each community unique. So those are my interests, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to serve on this committee.
Great. Thank you.
Mr. Titlebaum, questions?
No questions. Thank you very much for your application and interest.
Thank you.
Mr. Slavin?
Hi, Denise.
Hi,
I have no
Alan.
questions.
Mrs. Begley?
No questions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank
I
you.
agree with you. I grew up in New Bedford.
Oh, yes.
So-
I actually have gone to a couple churches there just for that reason.
You what?
I've gone to a couple churches there for that reason. Driving by, I'm like, I got to go to that church.
Yeah, you know, a few years
Big,
ago,
beautiful
I was
buildings.
probably 2 or 3 years ago, Dolores' family came from Tennessee. And we actually spent a day in New Bedford,
Really,
if you can believe that. But the historic district is just
it's beautiful.
fabulous. You know, the museum and all those houses all around there have been restored. And thank God for John Bullard many years ago. Do you know John?
I do not.
From New Bedford, too. He was the mayor there for a while. But thank you very much for your interest and participation.
Thank you.
Okay. Have a nice holiday.
You too.
Okay. All right, I think we have a sheet.
Do you not have one? It's on the back.
No, I'm saying I think we have a sheet. Somebody wants to make a motion.
Yes, I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I move that we appoint Denise Valente to the Historic District Commission to a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2015.
Motion made.
Second.
Second by Mr. Slavin. Anything else on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? 4-0-0. Denise? All right. Congratulations and welcome. You'll need to go by the clerk's office. You can go by the selectman's office, and Janet or Shirley will help you. Then you have to get sworn in. Okay? Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Slade.
Denise, just so you know, there's a possibility that the Historic District Commission is meeting on Thursday as part of that 5 o'clock meeting. I think there was a quorum issue, so that you might solve their quorum issue. It'll be at the Town Hall Auditorium at 5 o'clock. You're welcome.
Okay.
Next item on the agenda is under licenses and permits is application for a common vic license from Jeffrey Oswald doing business as the Firehouse Cafe. Oh, the whole family's coming.
Mr. Oswald, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Doing great. The first thing you can do is introduce your family to everybody.
I am, yeah. My wife Carolyn
Hi,
and my
welcome.
daughter Jessica.
Hi. You going to be doing work? Are you being put to work? Now make sure you get paid, right? That's very important. Start at an early age getting paid, okay? If Daddy says no, you come back here and see me. We'll straighten him out. Mr. Oswald, thank you. If you'd like to take a few minutes and give us a nice infomercial, that would be fantastic.
Sure. The Firehouse Cafe located in Onset Village on the corner of East Central Onset Ave. It was a building that was built in 1935. It was originally a restaurant in the 40s. The opportunity presented to myself from my friend that owns the building, something my wife and I have always wanted to do, and we take the opportunity. We want to try to do a bakery and cafe, a place that hopefully people will come meet old friends, make new friends, enjoy a cup of coffee, sandwich. We lived here all our lives, and at least for me, the village is, the heart of the village is where I love to be, so we hope that this is something that everybody else in the village welcomes and wants to be part of too.
You sure?
I'm sure.
Okay.
I love onset.
I'm sorry?
I love onset.
Would you like to say a few words?
Nope, I think he covered everything.
Would you like to say a few words? No. You sure? Okay, because now comes the tough part. I have to ask for questions. Is that okay? Is that okay with you? All right. Mr. Titlebaum?
How many chairs do you anticipate having inside?
It was engineered for 44 seats. Right now, it's at 32. It felt like 44 was too much. But we had a design plan done by a local engineer, and going by all the codes, it's 44.
Thank you.
Mr. Slavin?
I don't have any real questions. I just think it's good that we keep adding more and more pieces to the mix at onset. The more businesses are, the more that people come to the area, and more everybody will do well. Thank you for making the attempt.
Thank you.
Mrs. Begley?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I may have missed it. What are your hours going to be?
We hope to be in the winter 6 to 2, 6 a.m. to 2 p.m.
How many days a week?
7 days a week. And then extended in the summer, maybe like 5 a.m. to 3, depending on how well the winter hours work out. 7
And
days a week.
When were you hoping to open?
As soon as the end of this week.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, a grand opening at the Firehouse Cafe and Onset Center. Before Christmas. That's awesome.
That's what we're hoping. Yeah.
Anything else?
Is that it?
No, I'm looking forward to it. As you know, I live in Onset, so I'm looking forward to it. You going to have white hot chocolate? You going to have white hot chocolate, honey?
Sure.
You sure?
Absolutely. For you especially.
Because Sean likes that. So as long as you're going to have that, I'm all in favor.
Now, just for the board's information, because it wasn't in our packet, but in the clerk's packet, all the official signatures are here from the building inspector, electricals, gas plumbing, fire chief, health agent, and collector treasurer. So just for the board's edification.
Thank you.
There was a little, there seemed to be a little joggle there, and that's why I really stress that if somebody wants to open a business, to make sure that Mr. Sullivan there or somebody in the office is involved, because we almost missed tonight, right?
Yeah.
Trying to get that.
The last
lease.
meeting, yeah. It was last meeting before January, beginning of January. So that's
Right.
kind of, we had a lot of the signatures, but we had to get a couple extras. So we were able to do it.
And that way we don't have a firehouse situation to get it approved.
Also, before I make the motion, I just want Mr. Oswald to be aware that the license is from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. So if you want to increase those hours, you'll have to go through the process.
Okay.
In that case, if the board's pleasure, I'll make a motion that we approve the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Town of Wareham Common Victualler License for Jeffrey Oswald, doing business as the Firehouse Cafe at 239 Onset Ave. This permit is granted in conformity with the statutes and ordinances relating thereto and expires December 31st, 2013, unless sooner suspended or revoked.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Anything else on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 400. Merry Christmas and enjoy the next couple of days, because after that you won't get any time off.
That's right.
Just so you know.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Welcome. If there's anything we could do, let us know, please.
Right over at the Selectman's office.
Yeah.
You're welcome. So I'll ask the board to sign that before they leave this evening. And next item is number 7, sewer business. A is funding source for contract 2. Mrs. Winslow isn't here, but I don't know if anybody else has any information.
Such a large crowd tonight. I think everybody's out Christmas shopping.
Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of
How
the
are
board.
you?
Getting better.
Oh,
So,
what does that mean? You were worse?
well, I'm getting more energy, healthier, that type of thing. So
That's
it's
good to
been
hear.
it's been a fight. I don't know what it was, and virus.
Very
I
good
guess
to
it's
hear.
been a fight. So,
Okay. What have you got on here?
sewer connection 3 Old Glen Charlie Road. I'm asking the board to postpone that. GAF Engineering, who represents Mr. Christopherson, had a hearing in Barnstable, conservation hearing. He's unable to attend. I could present it, but it's a little touchy issue of location. Mr. Gifford, myself, we've walked the property with him, we understand. But I felt it's better if he presented it to address the questions you may have, because I couldn't answer them. So I'm asking to postpone it to the first meeting in January, or something along that line, and I can inform him so he can be here.
January 8th work for
That
you?
works for me, and I'll inform him, and he'll be here, and he has the opportunity to explain it to you better than I could, and any questions you have, he would be able to answer.
Okay. The next up is Walmart.
I haven't heard anything on Walmart. We had a meeting.
I think that was me.
Okay.
I put that
Thank
on
you.
there. Just to,
Put me on the spot.
I spoke to Mr. Bowen this afternoon, and a final agreement and a handshake has been done with Walmart. You know, pretty much all the offer hasn't changed on the remediation stuff. It was $200 for the ambulance, and your share was what, $55, $65 for I&I.
$50,000 for I&I, $100,000 in escrow for any future issues on that pump station.
For engineering, the $100,000 for the engineering, right?
Correct.
Future.
For future,
just
so
in
if we
case.
needed to do something there, we could hire an
And,
engineer. And
So we're hoping that, I asked him today if he could get a hold of the lady, actually to copy me on an email and her, the Walmart attorney, so that I could jump in the conversation and just say, look, you know, I had hoped that we'd have this done before the end of the year, but maybe we can get the documents together, get them to Mr. Sullivan, and get this done, and the rest of the board, and get this done for the 8th, and then we'll get that off our plate, right?
I agree.
So that's where we're at. We're just waiting for final document agreement from Walmart. Last week, under any other sewer business, last week we spoke about water running down streets and missing the
Catch
drain,
basin.
right?
On the right, yes. The left works perfectly.
And
the
then,
right,
yeah, on the right.
It just doesn't
Well,
want to take water, repels it.
Unfortunately, we paid for the whole street, right? So, and then they went out and repaved or resurfaced the road or re-engineered the road, right?
Yes, a couple of spots around the actual.
And then we saw pictures. Let me finish. And
Oh,
then
I'm
we
sorry.
saw pictures
Yes.
after that of
During the
water missing
The one on the right.
the hole again on the right.
On the right, yes.
Yeah.
Well, a little bit cutting, but yes, we made a
So-
slight improvement. You're right.
Yeah, so the left side is dry and the side on the right is missing the hole.
Correct.
And then I think you said to me that it was a pretty easy fix for this.
Yes, I talked to Mr. Judice, he was talking to Mr. Giosio Marcos, and he said it's a pretty easy fix. He'll break off some guys, make the fix, and be done with it.
So
So,
is it done?
no, it isn't
Well,
done.
if it's that easy, why isn't it done?
Well, because he's in the center of Boston working at night, so it's easy fix, but the timing and breaking his crew to wrap up in Boston before Christmas has been his dilemma.
Oh, I see.
Because they're light on crews, laid people off because of the economy and work at this time of the year, so he's got obligations in Boston, so he promised me that they'd break in, so that's a timing thing, and I don't have a definitive time to give you, but as soon as I get it, I'll certainly relay it to you, but
Like within the next couple of weeks, you think?
I'm hoping. I was actually hoping to be done already because it's that quick of a fix, so I'm hoping with the next couple of weeks it can be wrapped up, yes.
Would you let us know when that's done? Because we won't be in session here until the 8th. I'm hoping that he'll get it done before then, over the Christmas
I am
break.
too. I am too.
You
I
know,
really
and
am.
that way the selectmen will know and Mr. Sullivan will know that that was done.
Absolutely,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Mr. Titlebaum, any other sewer business from you?
No questions, thanks.
Mr. Slavin? No. And just to go back, what I'm referring to is that road where the gentleman was in a couple weeks ago.
Mattapoisett. Mattapoisett.
Yeah, okay. Mrs. Begley?
I share Mr. Chair's somewhat of a concern. That was my concern about paying everything in full. So everything's been paid. And
Absolutely.
is this the only issue?
It's the only issue, and I say this with all due respect. Yes, when it comes to it's the only issue, the final issue. It doesn't interfere with the ability to run the system. However,
No, I understand.
it does have water issues
But it
that go
affects
down
the
the road.
quality of
Absolutely.
life for the residents of that street.
Absolutely. So it's something that they will take care of. Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree.
Unless you had
I
a
agree.
hobby of toy boats, and then every time it rained, you could run out and run your boat in the street.
Well, if you run it
That's
right to the
not-
river where it's going anyways, instead of going to the drain, you just run it down the road and you can
Yeah.
observe it the entire trip. But no, I agree 100%, and it's there for a purpose, and the purpose needs to be served.
Right. Anything else?
No,
Sewer?
Mr. Chair.
Why don't you hold tight?
Well, can I ask you a simple question for clarification on
Oh,
sewer
a simple
business?
question. Yeah, we can
Yes.
handle simple questions.
Can
on
I
the
get
18th.
letters out for tie-ins on contract two?
Yeah, can you address Mr. Barros's?
To the
Concern?
best of my knowledge, tell you what I know. The letters went out, or the bill went out, if you will. And what the bill is to tell folks that the betterment has been set, $18,000 will be their betterment. And at this point in time, there's some options. They can decide how they want to pay it, whether they're going to pay it one time. And there should have been a letter included in that, as I understood it to be. I didn't get one myself, so I can't speak to that. But,
Right.
and to my understanding from John, it should be included into all their options, pay it off, whatever they're going to do, and then they make that decision, and then their first payment would be due this third quarter, I believe it is, of 2014,
Right.
and that's when their actual physical payment will be made. But I can check with John and.
Mr. Sullivan, you have something to add?
I would say, why don't I get a copy of the bill that went out, what was sent out, and present it to the board. I'll email it to everybody so we can take a look at it.
Yeah,
and
because
if-
Mr. Barros's daughter didn't get a letter. There was no letter in the envelope, right, Mr. Barros? Yeah. Did you get one? Did you get a letter?
There was no letter in there, okay.
The letter comes out separately.
Well, it would make sense if you had made those arrangements to have it go out in the same envelope, so you have a bill and you have the letter that explains it.
Well, the
right, in the
economics
same
also,
envelope.
one mailing opposed to two, so I mean, it makes sense to me.
And it would have saved money on the
Absolutely.
stamps.
Money's tight.
Okay. I'm sorry, ma'am. You're not allowed to speak from the back of the room like that, unless you're what? What's that? Oh, waved on by the chairman. Did you get a letter? Go ahead now. You can answer now. Did you get a letter?
I did, and there's 2 pages.
Did you get it in the envelope with the bill?
I did, and also the return address. I can't speak for everybody, but for myself, I did get 2 pages.
All right, so there's 1 out of 3 got a letter. Did you get a letter in your bill? Like you're not part of that. You didn't get one in yours.
Some of
Mr.
Bill
Barros's
anyways.
daughter didn't get one. You did in the same envelope. Ma'am? In the same envelope as the bill.
And was there a letter in there explaining the options?
Yes, that's what they said.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we don't have bills that are 1 pages or 2 pages.
So we have
long.
some envelopes that went out with the letters and some that didn't.
So those that didn't, I guess they could go in and get it. I'm not so sure, but I would think most of them got it.
Mr.
So.
Sullivan, could you look into that, please? And again, we're not here until the 8th. Could you send us an email to the board and maybe put something in public, post the letters online, or do something, figure out with Mr. Foster how that happened. And you get some people got the letters, some didn't. Could be human error, but it seems like right now we're batting 50-50. Not good.
So in response to the letter, I'd like to draft something, get it to the board for approval for content, and then get it out for tie-in,
That's
so I
fine.
can do that. Okay.
I thought we already did that.
No.
With the letter that went in the envelope with the bill.
No, it didn't. This is 2 separate departments, so before I did something, I wanted to make sure the board was happy
Oh,
with
sure,
it, clear with
yeah.
it, so I just wasn't going to take it upon
Yeah,
myself.
we want to
so-
make sure that people, $18,000 is hard enough to swallow.
Absolutely.
At least if there was some explanation in there, his daughter wouldn't have been so upset.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. Thank you very much. I hope you're feling better.
I do. Now, you want me to wait for the reserve funds, or should
Oh,
I?
yeah, right. Yeah, I want you to wait.
I was
for
going
the,
to go. I had an opportunity.
ask
was
you to
gonna-
stay.
I was out the door, but
We're kind of floating around here. All right,
thank
You
you.
want to move on to town business, Mr. Chair?
please.
Reserve
I'd ask
funds.
Mr. Campini to stay for item A.
Well, this is reserve fund transfer for 48 East Central.
Do you have the, I believe a packet was provided for everyone.
Mhm.
Okay, and so what I'm asking is to take, it's within the same budget, to move out of the reserve, to move that money into, outside contractors to pay the bill.
And you want to talk about what that was for, please, so that
Yep.
everyone is aware?
What it was for is 48 East Central had paid a betterment in the 70s, early 70s, and the new owner is building a home, and he wanted to tie in, and no ladder was provided. So we dug the property from lot line to lot line down greater than the elevation for the proposed lateral, and it did not exist. So we had to go to the street to give him a lateral. And in that process, we ran into groundwater, we ran into rain, a tremendous rainstorm. So a clay pipe that floats, there were some issues with the clay pipe, so we had to continue to go. Took us about 3 days to make this repair so we could restore service to that part of Onset.
Are you saying that this property was charged a betterment,
Yes, sir.
but there was
Absolutely.
no tie-in?
No, there was not.
Did the people ever pay the betterment?
Yes, we checked with the town hall, betterments recorded, paid, yes.
But there
Did
was
they
no.
pay EDUs?
No, what happened is a vacant lot, so nobody built on it, so they
Ah.
paid a betterment. And I guess at one time it was a little shed on it or something, but they paid a betterment for the property. And so when this owner purchased it, he's building a home. So part of it is to tie into sewer. So we gave him permission
Right.
to tie in. We even had a tie card for it. Give him the tie card, hires a contractor, goes out there, digs corner to corner, can't find
No lateral.
no lateral.
How much?
Well, it's in pieces. The total about $58,000 total. 58,000 and change. So I'm asking to transfer 60 so I can make the payments, to the contractors, pumpers, and police detail for 3
Well,
days.
For clarification, Mr. Chair, just so people know that a lateral doesn't cost $60,000. This was a sewer project from the 70s.
Mhm.
So there were groundwater issues, a broken main, et cetera. So because of the age of the system,
Correct.
that's why it's so expensive, nearly $60,000.
And my question is, why is this even here?
The reason
Because
for
the
that is,
Selectmen, even as sewer commissioners, we don't run that budget. He has the money in his budget.
within the budget, there's a reserve line. So much like the finance committee, we have a reserve fund, and the finance committees are the ones that vote that out. The Board of Selectmen as the sewer commissioners are the ones that vote out of that line. So if he doesn't use that money, but at the end of the year, it just falls away to the retained earnings. But if he needs to use that, it needs to be voted out of there. So it's not like going to the retained earnings that require town meeting vote. It just requires the act of the sewer commissioners.
Yeah, Mr. Slavin.
I spent a little time looking at that because I was there when they were working on the project where the clay pipe collapsed and then collapsed again. I think it collapsed 3 times. That's why the project cost so much. You had raw sewage running down the road and everything else. I could not find any policy or anything. I understand it's a line item with a reserve, but I couldn't find anything which actually stated that we have to, as the finance committee does, to vote to use that money. I'm really not sure that it requires us, actually, because I couldn't find anything in the enterprise fund, that the DOR puts out, and I couldn't find anything in any of our policies either, as sewer commissioners.
Okay, it'd come through the accounting office on that. This was the proper procedure. So I can ask them for the backup on there. It made sense to me that as the sewer commissioners, it was you're the sort of the overseers of it, that would be the way it's done.
I don't have a problem, I'm just saying, I just don't see where it actually was required, that's all.
Yeah, and I can remember one time, I think it was with the bridge in Onset.
DOR got involved, yes, you're
You remember
absolutely right,
that?
and the selectmen.
But I don't think you had the money to transfer at that
Correct, we had
time.
to take it out of the retained, so that had the DOR
Right.
issue, we had to get DOR permission, Board of Selectmen permission, that was quite a process.
And we had to have an emergency meeting to let the state know that we didn't have the money, but we had the money, but it wasn't in the right place, and we needed an emergency request. But this to me just seems routine. Maybe I'm missing something, but I don't have an issue on the vote. I'm just you're going to come in here every time you need to transfer money. I would think that seems more day-to-day operational than Board of Selectmen. I don't know, but we'll look forward to seeing the backup as to why.
And if it's not,
At least as an education to us as to why we have to do it would be helpful.
Mr. Chair, as a precaution, should this board make a motion to do so, just in case?
Yeah, I think that's fine, so that we don't hold up any works. But I'd like to know why we have to do that. We don't do it for anybody else.
And the current
I
balance,
appreciate the information, letting us know what's going on, but I just don't see where we have to do that.
the current balance in this particular reserve fund is $93,000, is that correct?
Yeah, see, so
93,000
you
is
have
what we
money in
appropriate
there,
for
you
that,
put
yes.
it in there to use it.
Yes, correct.
And I think if the town administrator okey-dokeys it, then, he doesn't come to us for other stuff. So anyway, if we could get at least a vote, and that way, if it does turn out we have to do it, we got it done.
I move that the Board of Sewer Commissioners authorize the transfer of $60,000 from the sewer reserve account number 578900-00 to outside contractors account 525300-300 to pay for the install of lateral 48 East Central.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Anything on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 4-0-0. Done now?
I think that's it.
Merry Christmas, guy.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas
I
to you.
Merry
appreciate
Christmas,
all
Guy.
the efforts of the board.
Mr. Chair, I have two things.
Send you, I say Merry Christmas to them.
No, I don't care.
I'll say something else.
Sure.
That was nice of you, Alan.
Don't say anything.
Mr. Chair, before we proceed with the current agenda, were you aware that we had a memo here from our office, and due to an error of our office, a one-day wine and malt beverage license was omitted from this agenda, and that event is upcoming. Can we amend the agenda?
Sure, we can do it. Is anyone here?
It seems to be somewhat emergent because the date of the events is December 21st, 22nd, and 29th, and it was an omission by our office.
Yeah.
The application was filed on December 5th.
Usually Mr. Jeffrey is here. I don't see him. Anyone here on this? No.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr.
Mr. Chair, I would like to, I should have asked you about this. This is Bourne's second quarter bill, like to get signed for their part of the
You do it
sewer.
under other sewer business?
Yes, under other sewer business. I'm sorry, I neglected. I was going to have Derek do it, but we're here. It's a good point, so I'd just like to get this signed, your permission.
Mrs. Bagley.
So I can make,
I apologize.
Well, you should. That should be on the agenda. That's routine stuff.
I'll explain it to you. It is routine stuff. We had done the first quarter. Second quarter is done by Maureen in my office. She's still in the hospital, out recovering from cancer, so it just got overlooked. I found it today, and I wanted to get the bill before the end of the year, so I'm just rushing it through, so I apologize. It should have been done. It's usually done in a timely fashion, but she's not available, so that's why I'm rushing it through, so they can get the bill.
Thank you. Mrs. Bagley?
okay, I will make a motion that the board, this letter is the board's commitment for the sewer usage fee to be collected from the town of Bourne for the period of October 1st, 2012 to December 31st, 2012, in the amount of $57,934.53.
Motion made.
Second.
Second. Question? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? 4-0-0.
Thank you very much. I apologize. Thank you.
Thank you.
Guy, thank you.
Merry Christmas again, guy.
So, back.
Well, if there's nobody here, we can do it under any other
Town business? Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Discussion of focus groups?
Mr. Slavin.
This is a project that I had started to put together. The idea of the focus groups is to provide direction on developing BOS policy for current and future development. The idea is to find a way to grow, become more efficient, have obtainable planning, which in turn will increase revenues and spur cost savings programs. The idea was to come up with a facilitator and have 4 groups of people in business involved in the areas. One was agricultural/developers. The second one was commercial/developers. Third was the tourism industry, which includes food. And the fourth was town employees. I've basically contacted ahead of time Fred Clark, who's the Vice President Outreach of Bridgewater State University, to see if he would consider being a facilitator for this. He has agreed. And I've contacted on the first group of agricultural developers. Just a second. And the first group would be Fred Clark as the facilitator. We have Mike Hogan from AD Makepeace, Doug Beaton, Peter Beaton, and John Deacus. These people all are either involved in the cranberry industry and are also possible developers of the town as well. The idea is they would meet, come up with ideas of where the town can grow, what's working, what's not working, give us some direction of what they think we can do, what's needed for them to grow, and then they would come back and give us a report. They would do this on their own and then come back to us. And I would do the same thing with the other 3 areas, one after the other. And hopefully, if it all works properly, that they all meet together just to see where they have similar synergies and where there's differences. And what I'm looking for is the board to okay for us to go ahead and put this together. The board would not be involved initially, and it would strictly be these people meeting. They would come back and report to us. But I felt it was improper as a selectman to do this on my own without having to go through the board.
Did you have volunteers in some of the other groups?
I've got listing for a whole bunch of different groups, but I wanted to do the first one was the agricultural developers. And then we can move from there.
Mr. Titlebaum.
Is there any formal structure you envision for them to follow in terms of their own meetings, that they would meet once a month, or to have a regularly scheduled roundtable discussion, or have you gotten that far into the thinking about this? Or what's your thought as to how they're going to proceed with what they're going to do in order to provide us with the input?
I think that will be what the facilitator's job is, whether they'll meet at Bridgewater State or they'll actually require to meet physically here in Wareham. It'll be whatever works for the group. We try and make this as easy as we can for them and not put any really restrictions on them, because I want them to come back to us as a group and give us ideas what we can do. When you live in a place or when you work in a place, you're confined to what you see around you. If you have people outside that are coming in, they have a lot more ideas of what works and what doesn't. And I think it'd be a refresh for the town itself to see what really is working and what isn't. And they'll have, I expect that they're going to have some suggestions that we've never thought of. We do need to have growth. We need revenue. We obviously have expenses versus revenue. And this is a very simple way to do things. And these are very busy people, but they've actually said they're happy to volunteer to do this.
How does that tie in with the newly formed? You mentioned tourism and things. How does that tie in with the committee that Mr. Titlebaum just got going?
Not initially. Again, it's a possibility once Peter gets that committee up and running. The information that comes back from the group will then tie into what he does. It would give him some more direction as well.
Mrs. Begley? Just kind of throw your comments in. I think it's good for discussion.
I guess my question would be this. Why would we have something that is separate from CETA? I mean, we already have community and economic development. So why do we need something separate from them? I mean, Mr. Pina is certainly is trying to be the cohesive leader and facilitator for communication. I don't really understand why we have to have something separate from CETA.
Well, again, you're dealing with individuals that are in the private part of the sector, not the municipal part. and they have a
But
lot.
community and economic development.
I understand, but unfortunately, community economic development, there's not a lot of time for all the different pieces. This is basically looking at economic development only. They have an actual advisory group, which really doesn't meet it all. And what this is doing is coming back with ideas for physical growth. It's not telling you how to do it and not telling you who to bring in. It's just giving you basic ideas of where there's some openings, where things are working for these businesses. You're not going to get that from the CEDAR doing the information. You're not going to get back saying, we're not growing because this isn't happening.
Why?
You haven't get it so far.
Well, why can't we encourage Mr. Pena to go in that direction as opposed to, I am hesitant for us as a municipality to get so involved with private corporations.
We're
I
not,
think that it's one thing to want to foster growth and encourage economic development in the town, but I hesitate to have the municipality get involved with people who are in private business.
it's a very common practice in our federal government all the way down. We always have private industries coming in with suggestions, coming in with different ways of doing things. They testify before our federal government all the time. This is just
Right, but this is like encouraging lobbyists. Like we're forming a group of lobbyists.
we're getting information which we don't have the access to get on our own right now. I don't see any balance.
I'm certainly not in no position to vote on something like this evening. I'd like to know much more about this.
Well, as the CEDAR person, until Mr. Pena came, they really, you were on that committee, I think. You were a committee of one.
Yeah.
Right? And then we had appointed a couple of young fellas. I don't remember their names.
Sit down. I got a letter.
Huh?
We got a letter.
Would you like to see the letter we got with our bill?
No.
Being recognized by the chair? I'm asking.
You got a letter with your bill?
Yes, would you like to see?
Oh, yeah, just a moment,
I'm
if you don't mind.
I screwed up. I didn't think I got one.
He doesn't even know it comes in the mail.
No.
Yeah, just give me a second. I appreciate you doing that. My train of thought, where was it? Yes. We had appointed a couple of younger gentlemen, and really, outside of Mr. Pena, and I know that he does a lot of outreach on his own, CEDAR, that economic group is really not where we think it should be, I don't think. I happen to know several business guys and ladies who meet on a regular basis today. And there has been some talk about, how do we take these assets and bring them together? And the Board of Selectmen meeting that'll never happen unless the environment changes. So I think that this is an opportunity that needs to be explored, because these people know up-to-the-date information on the economy and what would help them grow, because if they grow, we grow. And I don't think you get that out of, I think it's two different levels of information between a town-appointed committee of volunteers and people who actually live in the business world. And I think they bring two different sets of things, values to the table. I think it's good that they're even willing to kind of meet together. But I think we need some discussion on this. I think the idea is good. I think we just need to, and we don't have to figure out ground rules. They can do it on their own.
Well, the whole
You need a partner, though.
The whole idea of this is they would basically do it on their own and just give us report. It's not a town committee. It's not a town group. It's a bunch of individual businesses that are going off and doing something as a volunteer on their own and coming back. As a typical
Right.
example, Mike Hogan sits on the Governor's Economic Board. So when we say that we don't use private industry for municipalities, it's about the farthest thing from what actually happens in this world. And these are, you know, 5 major business people that are in our town or around our town that are willing to spend some time to give us some information. They're not telling us this is what you have to do. They're just going to give us some feedback. It's
Yeah,
not a
just-
committee. They don't report to us. You know, we're not spending any of our in town's assets or expenses.
Just him serving in that position and being appointed by the governor
Yeah.
has helped the town quite a bit in steering some businesses to look at us, which is, you know, the goal is to get good business into the town that can grow revenue and tax base and employ people.
This is something that usually you'll see, this type of thing, a little more common through a chamber or through a economic redevelopment organization, in which they'll go out and they'll have business come in, make a report, and then the report gets disseminated to all the different towns they cover. I'm only asking it for this way here, so it's upfront and everybody understands what it is. You know, they could go off on their own, do it, and just send us a letter in the mail with some ideas. You can either say, fine, Danny, or just ignore it. I just thought it would be something worthwhile while we know we have an issue coming for this year fiscally, and especially for next year. We were looking at severe deficits.
Any other comments? Mr. Titlebaum?
I think this is substantially a good idea. I don't see this as conflicting with CETA or seeking to take over any of what CETA does. But CETA is one department, it's one agency. No matter how hard or how many hours of work we can get out of Mr. Pina, he's one man, and I think it's good for us to not necessarily directly engage with, but to at least keep in touch with the people in this town who are landowners, who are business people, who are in a position and will be the logical places where business is going to go, because not only are they going to be coming to us with ideas, but in so doing, they will hear back from us what we think, which I think is important. And it's important to have that dialogue so that you don't wind up with business plans that don't meet the expectations of the town, and vice versa, so that the town is aware of what the business plans are. I see it as more of a cross discussion than I do as something that's strictly just for the business interests. So with that in mind, I would certainly support this.
Yeah, and you know, the comment about CETA, everybody keeps talking about CETA. Remember that CETA in the town of Wareham, quite frankly, has nothing to do with economic development at all. The way and I read these at least 100 times, the way that the law reads, they're there to manage our community grants. That's what they do. They're not there for economic development. I remember on many occasions sitting down with the former town administrator, and that was a big issue, is that, you know, you have a lot of stuff going on in the region, you got a lot of stuff going on in the state, you got a lot of stuff going on at the federal level, and there's nobody in Wareham really that their job is focused on economic development. When they changed CETA to become CETA, really their job is to manage the grant. Mr. Pena, I think, has done a good job so far at outreach. But in terms of the town of Wareham, we really don't have an economic development council. So I think it's worth exploring. Any other comments? What do you want to do next? What's your idea?
Well, basically, I'd just like to get an okay that this group can go ahead and work on their own, and they'll come back to us. There's no ties one way or the other. It's if they're willing to do, to go ahead and do this as a volunteer group, independent. I don't
Now,
see
are
any.
you asking for names? I have several names I
Well-
could give you.
we can do that as far as, you know,
Or
what we
them,
do.
or-
But like I say, the first group basically was anybody who was in agriculture and was also a developer. That's where I came up with those names.
Agriculture developer
Well, Mr.
type.
Chairman, maybe if I could suggest that, it sounds to me like what Mr. Slavin is looking for is perhaps the board to designate him as a liaison to these people. I mean, I don't think we could really be in the business of telling them with whom their association should be, because I think that would be kind of self-limiting for them. I think it would be better if we just acknowledged that we need to have somebody from this board in touch with them on whatever routine is set up, so that they can come back and report to us.
Well, why wouldn't that be Mr. Sullivan?
Well, I think the only issue with Mr. Sullivan is that he's
Got issues?
well.
He's a little. Is that
Well,
what you
I only said the only issue.
Ah, I
So,
thought you said he had issues.
No, I think that the problem for him is, at some point, he's going to be involved in process if anything comes out of these. And I
Yeah.
think it would be more appropriate for somebody on the board, where we're more involved in the policy end of things, than to have Mr. Sullivan, who's involved in the process end of things. So that's
Well,
why I
I
was
think-
thinking Mr. Slavin rather than one of our employees.
Well, I think that, I don't speak for anybody but myself, but to address any perception of politics, which I don't believe there is, but to address that, I think that the board, certainly I welcome this in one way or another. Whatever it takes to get it done, I'm willing to do within the law. But I think that to avoid any perception that the board direct Mr. Sullivan as our communicator. And Mr. Sullivan has a bunch of people at his disposal as the town administrator. And, if there's an opportunity for meetings or to have a group come in, he knows all he has to do is call me and they have a spot on the agenda. I don't think that type of group would want to come in here unless they had some plans to talk about. But if Mr. Sullivan finds that there's a policy issue that's blocking what they're asking for, then he's the person that would come to us and say, hey, Board of Selectmen, your policy is hindering an expansion of this. And then that gives us direction to work on those policies without having Mr. Slavin or myself or Mrs. Begley or you in communication with the private group. Let Mr. Sullivan deal with it.
Yeah.
I think that might get us through some of that hurdle.
Yeah, my intention was not to be involved with this at all. It was just to basically throw the idea out, ask some people if they're interested and run with it themselves. I would have no problem with Mr. Sullivan taking care of it, and actually probably have Mr. Pena as a focal point as well, because it makes sense. This is basically going to be like a group of people in a think tank coming up with a white paper and handing it to you. And if you use it, fine. If you don't, you don't. That's really what this is.
I see it, Alan. I'd like to see more involvement, not less, from the town side with the group, and that's why I'm thinking that the way to go. I mean, it's your idea, but my suggestion would be to appoint Mr. Sullivan as part of his duties to communicate, meet with you, obviously, to see what you've got going on, and then take control over that and develop that relationship. I think he needs to be more involved than less.
I just know that
If it's one of us, we need to be less involved, right?
I don't think it's a good idea that the board is the intermediary in this particular project.
No, I think you go through use the administrator and then let him use the tools at his disposal, and he has plenty of them.
Works for me.
Does that work?
Works for me.
Does that sound better, Mrs. Begley?
Yes.
You don't mind? Okay. You want to meet with Mr. Sullivan, and I don't think there's a need for voting. I think it's a great thing to do, and
Go ahead and do it.
as long as we do it in that way, it takes up the politics out of
You need
it.
more work anyway, so it's not a problem.
He's using an Apple computer over there. Just
Merry
noticed that.
Christmas.
I think it's a
Well,
great
yes.
idea, and if there's any now, see, and then the onus now is on you. And if you need something policy-wise, or if something is stopping you, or something is hindering these folks
Then
from
they come back to
expanding
us.
or bringing business to Wareham, then you need to come to the board and say, hey, I have a policy that's hindering me, or may I suggest this policy, and then let us take over that piece, and then we keep a very clear line between politics and private business.
The idea is really that hope that Wareham can become what they call a bio-ready community. We have sewer, which is one of the major requirements to be bio-ready, and we're fortunate we have that. There are other places that have everything in place except that, and they can't be. So bringing in anything that's biology-based industry, there's a lot of openings down here for that. We just have a few things to do to get that ready, and this type of group would help and assist with those areas as well, and the green communities as well, the Green Community Acts.
Outstanding.
These are all positive things for us.
Okay, very good. Is she still here, or did she get mad and leave on me? Where's Mrs. Slavin? Is she still in the back? I can't see her. Did that letter come with your tax bill?
Yes, it did. There were 2 documents in my letter.
Yes.
I had to check the envelope twice to find this because it's the same color as the envelope.
But
this does tell us what our options are for payment.
see, so now, Mr. Sullivan, our batting average is going up. And Mr. Barros's daughter, if you're watching, please recheck the envelope. So far, it looks like we're only missing one now, so we're doing well. Thank you, Mrs. Slavin, for that. Okay, next up.
Next up is discussion regarding meetings with the FinCom.
Right. I had booked that meeting a couple of weeks ago. My intention was to do it about every six or so weeks. And if there was anything between that time that Mr. Sullivan felt a need for a meeting, like end-of-year stuff, tax issues, or if there's a DOR issue, or the management letter, things that are changing, things that need to be changed, that he could feel free to, email the board, and then I would get with the chairman of the FinCom and do a co-meeting. But I was thinking, I know you asked me to put it on the agenda, but I was ahead of you on this one. And I was thinking about every 6 weeks so that we could meet with them. And, if there's something up, they don't have to be long meetings, just either part of our meeting or part of their meeting. We'll go there, they'll come here, whatever we do, and have an agenda item at least once every 6 weeks.
I think it's critical because we're looking at the budgets, and again, I go back to 2015, we're looking at such shortfalls that we need to discuss, how we work together. The next item that you'll see is the school committee. It's the same idea, but we'll get to that in a minute. The idea of sitting down and talking eliminates a lot of confusion, eliminates a lot of misunderstandings, and I'm hoping that we get to a point where the finance committee basically has more effect on what's happening, because they are the town meeting's representative for the fiscal matters. They are part of the legislative, part of our government. So I'm hoping we can do this on a constant basis, not just a one-time deal.
Comments, Mr. Titlebaum?
No, I mean, these are the other 2 boards in town that I think have a great impact upon our budgeting and our economic decision-making, and I think it is incumbent upon us to meet routinely with them so that we can get their input, and that way we can get even more information out to the voters so that they go into town meeting prepared with what the issues are and what we hope to present as the solutions to those issues.
Mrs. Begley?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree. But who's the Board of Selectmen liaisons to the FinCom?
Myself.
Because I've not heard anything
Myself and Mr. Slavin.
coming as liaison reports.
No.
Mrs. Bagley, just so you know, they've been waiting for the budget number information, so there's really been nothing coming.
Mm-hmm.
The only issue has been an
I
item
got a
that we
lot of
can't
good
discuss.
comments, though, about the meeting 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
From the Finance Committee. A lot of good comments about
Good.
that. And I think we had some good comments from the board. That's a good thing to do. I mean, people have to see us working together. That's, for too long, these boards are fractured and nobody wants to talk to each other, and it's just craziness. What do you think? I'll ask your opinion,
Yeah, I think that's.
since you're the holder of the facts.
It's a good usage of our time, and tomorrow night I'll be at the Finance Committee meeting, and we'll be putting together a time to have probably a day to day and a half, all-day meetings regarding the budgets for the departments in January, possibly the second week. So I would think that would be, if we could, if people can take the time off, that's one of the best ways to get an idea of what's going on. So I'll let the board know what date that's set with the Finance Committee.
It'd be great. Okay.
Next item on the agenda is discussion, meetings with school committee.
Same basic thing again. The idea here is that everybody out there listening, most people in town know that the Board of Selectmen and the school committee have been at odds at times. We've been butting heads, whatever else you want to call it. And it just doesn't work. It's like love and hate. One's a waste of energy and one works. So the idea here is basically to sit down and work out issues. We're going to have to look at, again, revenues coming into town and how we're going to split revenues between the school and the town side. We have issues with busing and everything else going on, but it's time just to sit down and come up with solutions rather than pointing fingers or just ignoring each other. It doesn't work, and it's not working at all anymore. I remember Bourne was in a similar situation probably, I'm going to say 7 or 8 years ago, maybe more. It doesn't happen anymore. They've got everything. They finally sat down and ironed out their differences, and they work as a team. And we need to work as a team. What I did also in here, just so everybody knows, I reached out to Cliff Sylvia, who's probably one of the most outspoken members of the board, and asked him if he would approach the school committee to see if they would have interest as well.
Mr. Titlebaum, any comments?
Well, this is really the same thing as the discussion we just had on the FinCom. It's another important town board. It's another important stakeholder in our budgeting process, and it's another board that it's incumbent that we work cooperatively with. Doesn't mean we all have to agree on every single issue, but we certainly have to get them out in the open and hash them out as best we can, so we can go into our town meetings with at least an understanding of where we agree, where we disagree, and how to possibly get to the end of the road.
Mrs. Bagley?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe there's an all-day budget meeting that the school committee has already scheduled.
January 3rd.
January 3rd? Really?
Isn't?
I thought it was later.
I thought that was there.
Oh, dear. And then there's our joint meeting is still scheduled. Is that correct, for the 23rd? And is it my understanding that it's the school committee, the FinCom, and the Board of Selectmen? Is that correct, Mr. Chair?
By law,
By-
it's the school committee and the Board of Selectmen.
But the FinCom.
Last
attends-
year, we invited the FinCom, yes. But they're not part of the law.
Right, and the year before, I think that they were there as well.
I'm pretty sure they'll be there again.
Good, I hope so. January 3rd, really?
That's the one they do themselves.
The all day, I know. I know, but January 3rd.
Because they do their budget after that.
They vote on it the following Wednesday, I think they put on their agenda.
And then on the 16th at 7 p.m. in the Wareham Middle School auditorium, they have their public hearing on the budget.
The 16th.
And that, the 16th, yes, the school committee.
School committee.
The school committee will vote on their budget.
That's not Martin Luther King Day, is it?
No, that's
Following week?
the 21st.
Right, okay. I was going to say that
So we have
would be hideous to do that.
the long weekend, and then we have our joint meeting the following Wednesday, on the 23rd. And that brings us to any other town business.
Oh, hang on.
Oop, I'm sorry.
If I could comment on D.
sorry. I beg your pardon.
You know, this is, I've really never seen anything like this. The behavior, sentiment, whatever you want to call it, I remember former Chairman Cruz trying to reach out and have a coffee or whatever it was. I remember. I think I had coffee with Kenny Fonts. I've also met, I think, my first year here, I had breakfast with Mrs. Fugan. But you know, whatever it is, it's in the past. And one of the reasons I was looking forward to this being on the agenda is, you know, the town is in some really tough shape if anybody hasn't really been paying attention. There are 3 boards in town that really, they really have a say in what happens here. Board of Selectmen, obviously, the school committee, and the finance committee. And, I mean, what does it tell you in a town where town meeting had to pass a law or a bylaw? Well, anyway, it's a legislative action, so it's a law, correct? It's the title of it. But they actually had to pass a law telling the Board of Selectmen and the school committee to have a meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's pretty sad when you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I'll reach out to Mr. Sweat, who's the chairman there, and suggest that we do the same thing. And hey, listen, and even if it's only, you know, a 15-minute agenda item here, or a 15-minute agenda item there, or Mr. Sullivan feels that, I think, you know, any of these budget things, or DOR things, or these finance things, that you got to go to the school committee and explain it, or to the superintendent. You got to go to the finance committee and explain it, and you got to come here and explain it, right? And there's 3 different explanations, the same explanation, 3 different sets of questions, 3 different sets of communications, and I think that why not? We got buildings all over the place that can house plenty of people, and why not have a meeting, joint meetings between the 3 groups and you, and the superintendent, obviously, to fill the people in, fill the boards in. We all hear it at the same time. We all have a chance. We hear the school committee's questions. They hear our questions. We hear the finance questions. So, you know, the days of all the infighting and this board, my board, that board, you know, if we don't work together, we're not going to get through. And so, you know, I'll ask for your comments, Mr. Sullivan, because you're the key player here, and you're the keeper of the facts and the information. But I just think that these joint things, these joint meetings with fellow boards, are important. And I want to hear your thoughts before we schedule them, because obviously you're the one who delivers a lot of the key information.
When you speak about this, you're right. It's basically the 3 most important boards in the town, and it does. For going to each one, they all have separate questions. Bring them together gets sort of, if you will, the groupthink mentality out of there, because each board has its own ideas on there. So you get the group together, and there's questions that may be asked that nobody had thought of, and we can get to it on there. We you know, the budget message states it. We have a budget based on available revenues, not what we actually need, but what is available. And we have to come to an understanding as to how we're going to allocate that.
And not what we want.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and I think, I think I can count. I'm in my 3rd year now, so I remember we had the management meeting that night here, or on a Saturday. We had the meeting at the school committee last year, where all 3 boards were there. And outside of town meeting, and I'm not counting town meeting because that's mandatory, everybody shows up. But, I think you can pretty much count on one hand the number of times that the 3 boards met together, or the selectmen met with the school committee, or the school committee met with the, and I think that we really need to bring these folks together.
Last
And
year,
move them around, and so that it's not, they're being hauled in front of the Board of Selectmen, or they're being hauled in front of, just move it around and make it a friendly thing so that we can have some discussion. I think it's a good idea.
Mr. Chair, I agree, and I think it's a great idea. However, last year, if you recall, Mr. Cruz and I were the only members of the Board of Selectmen that showed up at that meeting.
Right.
So I would hope that that would not happen again.
Yeah. Anything else? Okay. I'll reach out to Mr. Sweat, and like I say, and we'll get him booked. And Mr. Sullivan, if you have anything, that you suggest, any dates or meetings that you're attending, let me know, and we'll try to piggyback on that and work with you on getting those things scheduled. How's that?
Sounds good. Good
Okay.
allocation of resources.
Mr. Chair, the next item, are you ready to move on?
Mm-hmm.
The next item on the agenda is any other town business. It says not really reasonably anticipated 48 hours prior to posting of this meeting.
Right.
I would like to either amend that or add item F, because it was an error of omission by our office.
Right.
And there's a one-day liquor, or actually, it's
Yeah,
one
so
day
it
for 3
It
days.
just came to us, though.
Right,
so
but it
you
was
can-
stamped in our office on December 5th, and the people have already paid their fee of $300, and the event
Right.
is this Friday.
Okay.
So, with the board's indulgence, I think we all have it in our packet. This is for professional bartending service, and this is a charity fundraiser, I believe, for the theater production in Buzzards Bay Playhouse.
Mhm.
And the event is December 21st, 22nd, and 29th at 3065 Cranberry Highway from 6 to 11:30 p.m. So, with the board's indulgence, I'll make a motion.
Yes.
I move that this board approve the one-day liquor license to, professional bartending service. And that business is at 303 Main Street, Falmouth. And the event is at, theater production in Buzzards Bay Playhouse at 3065 Cranberry Highway, December 21st, 22nd, 29th of this year from 6 to 11:30 p.m.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Anything on the question?
Just one point.
Mm-hmm.
I understand this is something that somehow was missed. As far as process, procedure, whatever, obviously it's not on the agenda, so technically we aren't really supposed to discuss it. But I think because it was an accident, we can go ahead and vote on it, but there's a possibility someone can complain, and I'll apologize ahead of time, but we're trying to do the right thing here.
There you go. Thank you. Anything else?
Just one other small point. There is a tip certification in the package
Yes.
here, so I
It's-
know
the
case
package is complete.
Yeah, I'm
case Selectman
surprised-
Winslow's
I'm
watching, it
surprised-
is there.
I'm surprised he's not here. He usually pops in. Okay. Anything else? All in favor? Opposed? Abstain? 400.
And if the office could call this gentleman to come into the, this will be signed this evening, so they can come in for their license. I'd appreciate that.
Okey-dokey.
There was only one announcement that I missed, and it was a sad announcement. I think that's why I missed it. This was a press release for the oldest citizen, Mr. Chair. With the recent passing of Gladys Ides, the most recent recipient of Wareham Post-Cane, the Board of Selectmen is looking for the town's oldest citizen. If you believe yourself or a family member living in town to be the oldest citizen, please contact the Selectmen's office.
I think I found him. Have I got him right here?
That was a pity.
I'm just teasing.
Ms.
before-
Ides was a lovely woman. And moving on to the town administrator's report,
Mr. Sullivan?
Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Starting on this, I have great news for the town. A little past 10 a.m. this morning, we received notification that the tax rate has been set for the town. So that has been a lot of hard work from the departments there, from the accounting, assessing, treasurer collectors, the clerk, and we had community preservation come in last night because there was an issue, and they really rallied and helped us out. So I appreciate all the hard work that was put into this, and it means a lot for the town. And it was, I believe, 2 weeks earlier than last year. So let's keep on that pace and keep on doing it each year a little bit better.
And might I note, good work on your part, but remember that, as you know, setting tax rates and doing all that stuff is normal business.
Right.
I mean, it's not like we went out and built the new Empire State Building in Wareham, and wow, right? And that's normal business practice that hasn't been achieved in several years. So we hope that, our hope is that next year, that there are no heart attacks in October, November, especially me, but that we don't have to deal with all this jumping through hoops at the last minute. So, but good work. We don't want to take that away, but it is normal course of business, right?
It is, and we're getting on to the pace of making it the normal course of business where myself will have a lot less sleepless nights worrying about it. So.
Mr. Chair, if I
But
might.
it is good work.
It is good work, Mr. Sullivan. I certainly don't want to detract from that, but we had an intense discussion during the last session of town meeting. So again, policies. What policies? And it's ultimately falls on your desk. I would hope that policies will be put in place so that we will be well prepared for any deadline that the DOR should set forth, as opposed to us kind of begging for extensions. So November 1st, I mean, every year, for example, every year I say to my brother, you're the only one that's surprised that Christmas comes on December 25th when he's running around on December 24th shopping. So I don't want to see us, kind of shopping with the DOR saying, nope, sorry, can't make November 1st again this year.
So
I'm
that's
going to keep on beating that policy and procedures drum, because no matter who's there or who's not there, if there are proper policies and procedures in place, it should always be seamless.
Okay, carry on.
Is this,
No, he's giving his report.
right, so item A is going to be Mr. Sullivan?
That's what he's talking about.
Okay.
We have the.
Great work. You understand where we're coming from.
I do understand. I think it's.
It's great
Okay.
work on your part, especially since you weren't there in the beginning of the cycle.
And next year, you won't be a rookie anymore, so there won't be any excuses.
Excuses.
That's right.
Just one quick point. It's up to the Board of Selectmen as far as policy and guidance, but as far as our setting the tax rate, these are all more or less set in stone by the state rules and regulations. The dates are all out there. I'd like to commend Mr. Sullivan. Most people don't realize how much work it is. It's not a simple thing to set a tax rate. It's extremely difficult to come in the middle of something, go back, and with the issues that we had as far as in the accounting department, making very difficult decisions at the last minute and still be able to get it all together, I think he should be congratulated. It's an almost impossible task that was done. And I'd just like to personally thank him for what he did. Thank you.
We did that. We did that.
Number 2 on here is something that I hope will be saving the town some money for.
Are you gonna copy? You're gonna put in Mrs. Winslow's box.
I do have-
She probably already has this, right?
She was.
Yeah.
She received the email on.
She was in the meetings, right?
Correct. What I'm asking here is for the authority to enter into contract with Sagestone LLC there, and we do have the representatives here.
If you need them to.
Yeah, it would be if you want to come up, introduce
Gentlemen,
yourselves. I know
if you'd
you've
like
been here
to.
before. You've got somebody that we've met, but maybe the town hasn't met with you.
Just speak. You got. If you speak, you got to speak very close to the microphone. If you would introduce yourself to the folks.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, and Mr. Sullivan, and ladies and gentlemen. My name is Richard Kleiman from Sagestone LLC. My senior partner, Bruce Hafetz.
Gentlemen?
Good evening. Welcome.
Lady?
Mr. Sullivan?
For two separate meetings, we'd met with myself, Selectman Winslow, Selectman Slavin, and other times we've just been Selectman Slavin, and myself and Selectman Winslow was not available. We had worked with Sage Stone to try and put the agreement together, come up with the numbers. The last meeting, we came together with something that actually increased the town's savings over the 20 years at about approximately $223,000 over the life of it.
I heard a rumor about that. Is that true, Rich?
Yeah, they beat us up pretty good, yeah.
We're happy about it. They may not
You're
be.
lucky I wasn't there.
So in front of you, you have the actual agreement. We, Thursday, I'll be meeting with Rich Bowen on this again, going through it one more time, making sure that there's been nothing changed in there. After meeting with them, working with them, we think that this is the best option that we have right now, and for the savings that will yield the town will be, it's the best way to go. Net metering credits, just so people know, it basically will not be us receiving a check. However, the revenue is that it will lower our costs on the energy side. We'll be receiving credits towards that. So that's where the revenues come from. But, you look on there, when we worked through, it would be for the town departments, the school departments, and also the water pollution control facility on there. And we will be also setting it up specifically so that the power purchase partners, like Suez and Glacial, will be receiving credit for those costs as well.
Questions, Mr. Tedderbuck?
Just so I'm clear here, Attorney Bowen has seen this agreement and has given it his stamp of approval as to the form and the terms?
The form and then the terms, and we will go through it one more time on Thursday so that we're sitting across from each other, and there's any questions that may come up during this time so we know. It doesn't look to be, it was the same one has been floated around, except for the additional increases that we asked for have been placed in there.
So it's pretty much the same except for the final numbers and the cost.
But I always like to have the attorneys triple check something.
Mr. Slavin?
Let's have one quick question. I noticed that we have Lapumas PV Energy LLC on the contract now.
Yeah, we have, for each of our solar projects, we established a new project entity that is controlled by the partners of Sagestone LLC. It's really just for project financing purposes. It's commonly done with energy development and other types of development. Just so you know what that means, is that what you're asking?
I just wanted to explain because someone will look at that, seeing originally the contract had Sagestone in there.
It is the Latin name for sunfish, and
Yes.
some of us are fishermen, and it's a solar project.
What? Sunfish Solar Project, I got it.
The other point is that people understand that we can still go out and buy from an individual group, a company or group, and get discounts. All that we have to make sure of when we go out and do that we get the actual bills, the bill itself gets put onto the overall national grid or NSTAR bill. Because on the NSTAR bill, what happens is these credits are based off how much dollars you use. So that's how this works. So this, even though it's not going to cost anybody any more money at all, we're not going to have a higher rate than less the credit. We're going to continue to have the lowest rates that we can come up with and then get a credit applied against that as well. But we don't physically see any cash.
That's correct. You still get the savings of a competitive supplier, whoever you choose. This just adds to that savings with a new net metering credit on the bills, the NSTAR bills.
Yeah. We're taking 6 megawatts from this project here. I think we're allowed up to 8. Some of that might be factored in depending what Mr. Campina does with the water pollution control facility. with his solar
Which I
use there.
think is 1.5.
Right, so still, we qualify for about 8, so we're in the ballpark as far as all that goes. Also, the rates, we sat down, Mrs. Winslow worked with Sagestone, and the original credits to the town of Wareham, just so people know, was 10% during the first 5 years, and then it was 20% from that point on. We negotiated 12% for the first 5 years. I believe the next 10 years was at 20, and the last 5 years of the contract was at 22.5. Thank you.
And it's 7.4 for the total project, and we would take up to 6?
No, that's a different measure, Mr. Chairman. So there's megawatts is what they call the capacity of the project.
Yeah.
Kilowatt hours is how much actually electricity is produced in a year.
Okay.
So they're really two different measures, but
All right.
the total project size is right around 6 megawatts.
Wareham.
But it produces 7.4 million kilowatt hours a year in electricity, just so you know.
Yeah, I see the two different numbers, and when you add the 1.5 to the 6, it's very safe. When you
Yeah.
add 1.5 to 7.4,
Yeah, it's two different measures. It's not the same
Okay.
thing. The 6 is really what I think you're
Mrs.
asking about.
Begley?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, just to clarify, through you, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Sullivan, you're asking for us to vote to authorize the contract. Is this the final contract that's in my possession?
Unless something would drastically change with Richbone, this is the final contract right now.
I would hope that the contract that you wanted me to vote on would have been fully vetted.
This one has been in front of them. Yeah, he's proved it for him, proved it originally. The last time we sent it out to him on Friday as well. And then, like I said, I'm sitting down with him on Thursday and just making sure when I'm looking to sign this that there's the one that I have is matching up to everything.
Okay.
I'm not going to do anything without playing it safe is basically what I'm saying.
I understand. But
Clarify,
if there, but if
but
there
wait,
are
to
any
clarify,
changes-
we're not voting to authorize him to enter this contract. We're authorizing him to enter a contract.
Oh, it says the net metering contract,
Well,
which is in
I
my
don't know.
possession. Doesn't say a.
Well, he's the procurement officer for the town. So if tomorrow, when he meets with the lawyer and the word "the" should be all, he has the ability to change that.
Just to clarify, and I think perhaps reiterate what you said earlier, when you sit down with Attorney Bowen this week, you're not looking to go through and change any terms. You're simply looking to go through and make sure that the final document is the exact same, word by word, letter by letter, as the final draft that you've prepared us with.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Sage, right? Did I see that name? What was it? A couple weeks ago. Are they involved in the casino business?
He's the sage. I'm actually the stone. So
Right. Yeah. Right. Hey, are you in the casino business, sir?
No, sir.
You're not part of your group.
No.
It was a group that was. You see that they were coming before the state because the Taunton thing kind of
No, sir.
messed up. Did you see that? What was the name of that? I thought it was Sagestone. No? You saw it too? Yeah. Yeah.
that's not us.
No, it's here in Massachusetts.
it's not us. But
Get a thing. Wow. I think it's a good deal. When are we still scheduled for April?
we'll be
April, May.
We'll be in construction as early in the spring as weather allows, and then it's approximately a 3-month construction schedule. So
By July 1, we're going to
They're
start
on or
getting some
about.
money in June.
That's
I
our-
thought
that's
it
our
was
current-
April.
I think we had talked about potentially starting in March or April.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in March or April, you're sticking to that, and you're going to reduce
Yeah.
our bills starting in March or April.
Well-
Come on, Rich. Hey, What's up with that?
We will, well, obviously uphold all of the terms of the contract.
Good answer. Good answer. I like that answer. Good answer. All right. Good. Anything else? Yeah. If everybody's done with their questions. Anything else? Any comments?
Only to thank the board and the many, the town administrator, and the many department heads that we've met with and spoke to along the way, and the town meeting members as well. We appreciate all your interest in this, and we, I guess it's heartening to, you come to these meetings. I've been to your town meeting. I've been to a number of your select board meetings. You can tell this is a community that people care about deeply, and people have lived here their whole lives. They want to see good things happen, and we're just happy to be part of that. So thank you.
Great. Great. Okay. Can I get a motion?
I move that the Board of Selectmen authorize the town administrator to sign the net metering contract with Sagestone LLC.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Anything else on the question? All in favor? Opposed? Abstained? 4-0-0.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much.
Have a great holiday.
Happy holidays to you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Mr. Sullivan.
The next thing that we have is also a little bit of good news. I believe you received the information in your packet. The school roof bid came in. We had anticipated $110,000, and it came in at $64,300. So that's what it would probably be at the end of the day. Just to let everybody know, we're anticipating the actual cost to be closer to 69 with a clerk of the works on there. I believe that's, you want to have that in there, have somebody with the specific knowledge to make sure that our interests are being looked after. And, if it went up, if there's a little bit of overage, that's the max we would think that it would be. So, did you receive something in your packet on it?
Mm-hmm. Yes, there's a letter.
Mr. Chair, if I might.
Mrs. Begley?
Mr. Sullivan, this is for, because I remember this distinctly during town meeting debate. This is for replacement or repair?
This is replacement. They will take the old lining off there. Also, the reason time is of the essence. They're going to try and do it during the school break to make sure while they have that equipment or shoveling the stuff off the roof there, it's not going to have any children to land on.
Well, just because it's significantly less than what we anticipated at town meeting, that's why I want to clarify for anyone watching.
Yep.
Because this was a huge, I remember it was an issue for you, Mr. Chair.
It is. It still
that,
is, but I
that
do
it be a replacement and not a repair. And we have these documents that
I see
certainly
Dr.
support that.
Rabinovich has placed the word replacement in here a couple times.
Mhm.
Um,
Just so that people are aware that this does replace the roof, and it is a significant less than what we thought it would be.
If anyone is looking to replace their roof, now is one of the best times of the year. So,
Okay. Anything on the question?
Just one quick question, Derek. The difference money-wise means we will be borrowing less money on the bond?
that's correct. We'll borrow less money on there, and what we're doing is
What was the original number?
110.
110.
what was put together on here. We're working on making the purchases and such, and then when all the purchases have been made or put together, we will borrow, so that we're not borrowing individually for them. It's one lump sum. And if you borrow more than what you use, you actually get penalized on that.
Correct.
So.
That's why I asked. Thank you.
Wow. It's $46,000. Okay.
We have provided a motion.
Board's pleasure.
Yeah, oh, good. Pass it on down. Thank you. It's my motion, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. It's right here. It's on your paper. Flip it over. The other one over. No, it's a separate piece of paper. Oh, mine's right on there. Backside.
You have a special chairman's package, Mr. Chair.
Oh. Wow.
So
You can
I'm
only
going to
get
make,
them to post the meeting.
I will make the motion
That would be a miracle.
for the Board of Selectmen to award the bid for the replacement of the Wareham High School gymnasium, I'm going to say roof, because that's not in there, to Gibson Roofs Incorporated as the apparent low bidder in response to the invitation for bid IFB issued November 28, 2012, which were publicly opened and read December 12, 2012, for the bid amount of $64,300. This award is subject to receipt of all documents as referenced in the IFB.
Second.
Motion made and second. On the question. I'm going to ask this again. The Board of Selectmen buys nothing. The town administrator does the contracting, as passed at town meeting last November, and does all the procurement. So why is the Board of Selectmen voting to award a bid? It doesn't say anything here about you going through a procurement officer or anything. I don't know why you just, this is part of your
By the
town administrator's duties by legislative action at town meeting.
by the procurement law and such, and also if you see in there, you'll see it's the owners of the town, which technically is the Board of Selectmen. Although I'm the procurement officer, I'm not technically the owner of the town. So when you reach certain levels, it's the owner of the town with procurement laws.
I thought at town meeting, though, town meeting voted that the town administrator would be the one who
I think the motion,
does contracts.
Mr. Chairman, was just for the town to approve, to borrow or
Because
to
I
do
don't ever
whatever was
recall
necessary
doing
to
this.
get the
This is all
funding.
new here. I've never.
It's as a result of town meeting vote as well, and I think that, Mr. Chair, if I may, I think that Mr. Sullivan's dotting the i's and crossing the t's.
Ah, okay. All right, fine. I'm with you. I mean, it's nice to be notified and all that, but I just don't know that, because this is the Board of Selectmen, we don't award contracts to anybody. And we don't award bids. We don't do that. But that's what the motion says we're doing, is awarding a bid. So, it's fine by me. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Abstain? 400. Just asking.
At a future meeting, we could ask town council for
Say it again?
At a future meeting, we can ask town council for
Yeah, I'd like to know that, because it's actually the town administrator who awards bids, not us. Okie dokie.
Just one final item for the town administrator, if I might, Mr. Chair. There was some miscommunication. I had kind of been I texted back and forth with Mr. Sullivan, and I think he thought it was just a miscommunication about, and for anybody listening out there, Mr. Sullivan has assured me that there is going to be a message of support for Newtown on the town marquee. There was just miscommunication, and I apologize, and it certainly was meant as no disrespect for the people of Newtown or the people of Wareham. But Mr. Sullivan had shared with me that he intends to have a message of condolence and support for Newtown on the town marquee, probably as soon as tomorrow.
Yes,
But I've heard from citizens, and it was just miscommunication. I think Mr. Sullivan thought my intent was to wait till this evening, and he was being respectful of my wishes, and my intent was to have it happen as soon as possible. So it was just miscommunication.
Yeah, thank you. There's clearly no disrespect meant to
No,
anything
certainly
on
not.
there. And technology is sometimes a flawed medium. So,
Yes, I agree.
yeah, it's all right. Thank you.
You know, there are times when, asking forgiveness is appropriate instead of asking for permission. And I think as time goes on, you'll figure that out. Because something like Mrs. Begley's request doesn't need a vote of the Board of Selectmen to ask you to put something on the sign, right?
Correct.
Anyway.
Be careful. He has the power of the pen. Be careful.
He's got the letters in his office. I thought
Just
the town
watch
clerk,
it.
I thought actually the town clerk had those letters in her office, but I've been wrong before.
Now, item 10 is liaison reports, Mr. Chair, and there's an upcoming the Commission of Disability is meeting on the 20th, I believe, and I think it's at noon time. They haven't met for some time, and that's all I have for liaison.
Community Events Committee met yesterday, and they had a long meeting with Salpina, and they sat down and talked about different projects, and Sal explained some of the parking projects that he was looking at and some other things, so they have some idea of where they need to work together and how they're going to work together in the future. It was a very productive meeting.
Anybody else have anything from the audience? It's Christmas.
Your liaisons, I guess.
Any of the press have any questions from the audience? It's Christmas. I'll give you one. How's that?
Uh-oh.
Yeah. That's a good question. The question is, so we'll repeat the
They're
question.
hungry.
Why is the roof replacement, to be exact, $46,000 less than what was originally anticipated?
The best answer to that is the time of the year, and some of these people are trying to keep their workers on when there's no work, so they will take almost a break-even point. This one seems even maybe a little less than that to keep everybody on and keep them working until the next big project rolls around. So that's what I was saying. If you
And there's no follow-up, by the way. That's it. That's one. I'll get slammed, but I'll call you our media liaison. How's that? Anybody else, sir?
You mentioned paying a clerk of the works for the roof project. No building going on. Why don't you use the building inspector as the clerk? Sounds like it's only a 1-week project.
Yeah, it'd be a 3-day project on there, but with the project itself holding them up for 3 days, that's when speaking with the superintendent, that's what they believed would be the best idea on there.
All right, easy now before I get in trouble. I saw one more hand. Did you have a comment? Go ahead.
No, just Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you too.
Merry
Happy
Christmas,
holidays,
everyone.
Mrs. Bagley. Anything? Anybody got anything? How about the camera guy? You got anything back there? How's the new guy doing?
Leave Bob alone.
Huh? Is Bob doing all right?
It's Christmas.
Anybody who has any complaints about tonight's broadcast other than its content, let me know, and I'll give Mr. White a call. You can just call Bob White yourself. Phone number 295. Never mind.
I have one question.
Sure. Hey, you're not allowed to ask questions. You're on the board.
It's okay. Mr. Sullivan, Town Hall is closed Christmas Eve or not? Christmas Eve day?
That's a good. I want to let the everyone know that on Christmas Eve, Town Hall will be closed as one of the days. However, it's going to be open for department heads, and then there's only other 2 librarians that don't have the day off. So,
On Monday,
on Monday,
is Town Hall open all day Friday?
it would be open all day Friday.
You never know.
Don't let me come by because I'll send him home early.
Well, why are department heads there and nobody else?
That's the matter for the town administrator.
That's right,
to
day to
determine.
day.
It's
You
day-to-day
can ask us.
operations.
I'm not suggesting anything.
You gave me an idea that maybe every once in a while we'll throw something on the agenda for the press to ask questions. How's that? Would that make you happy? Yeah.
But
That's come up. Not every week though, because you can get crazy with it. But maybe we'll do that once a month or something. Have a press participation session of the meeting. Would you like that? Yeah, it's Christmas.
Mr. Chair, there's actually a good answer to that one for Town Hall on Christmas Eve. Everybody else has the day off except for the department heads, and by contract there. So,
There you go.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, would it be out of
That's
out of order just to ask simply that as a Christmas gift that they give the department heads the day off also? If Town Hall is closed, you can't do any work there as far as doing
We'll leave
anything.
that up to Mr. Sullivan.
That's day to day.
Let's leave it up to Mr. Sullivan. As the negotiators and voters of their contract, we'll leave it up to the guy who manages it.
Thank you.
Is that fair?
I'll make the appropriate decision on that.
Motion to,
Anybody else before we go?
I'm saying motion to adjourn. That's a Christmas present
That's-
right there.
that's
It's not
enough.
even 9 o'clock.
There you go. Motion made and
Second.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Good.
Merry Christmas.
No one
Thank you.
leave till every document is